Hi guys, it's Kelly Lativola here, and I am back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today we are going to be using Lily the Lamb stamps and dies and creating a little scene along with some die cuts. So it's not a one layer scene, but it could be. I'll show you how to do both. So basically going into it, I knew that I wanted to do a video that really concentrated on a technique called stippling. And it's a really great way to get texture, especially in your animals. And since Lily is a lamb and she is very fluffy, this is one of the ways that you can do it. And it's not terribly difficult. A little bit time consuming, but not terribly difficult. So I am going to be doing Copic coloring. I'm stamping this as intense black ink from Simon Says Stamp. And I made this card over the course of a couple of days. So you're going to see a few outfit changes. Anyway, so in order to create the scene in the background, I just have a large piece of Eclipse masking paper. And I'm very loosely drawing out a hill. If you are not confident in your artistic abilities, no worries. Honeybee Stamps also has hill dies. So check those out. I'm going to cut this out. You want to save both pieces, positive and the negative, in order to create this background. And I'm going to be doing that with Distress Oxides. So first things first, I'm going to start with the sky. And then basically I like to start at the top and work my way down, unless for some reason that's not going to work for me. I lied. I didn't use Distress Oxides. I used Distress Inks. Oh my word, it's been too long since I've made this card. Oh my gosh. Does that ever happen to you? Like you make something and then, when I drop my little ink blender, so thankfully I was actually able to buff it out. Usually with Distress Inks, that's much more difficult to do than with oxides. But anyway, you ever just make a card and then like you completely forget what the thing was that you used to make it? Yeah, this is happening to me right now. And I probably, honestly, if I was a responsible professional, I would have watched the video over before I voiced it over, but I ain't got time for that, yo. I think it's been a week and a half since I even posted a video on my own channel, just because life has been crazy. So anyway, once I got the sky down, this is why you want to save both pieces. So you can put the other piece on top and protect what you've just created. I'm going to do a scene with several hills, and you may find, like I did here, where if your Distress ink is still wet, your masking paper may not want to stick to it. So you can either A, dry it down with a heat gun, or B, just push it down to the best of your ability, and as it dries, it will adhere better. So for this, I'm just kind of going to move the hill around different ways. That's why I always cut my masks to be larger than my background, so I can kind of move it and it doesn't have to go in the same place every time. For the actual application of the Distress inks, you want it to be the edge on top to be lightest, and so you want to add the shadows at the bottom, because when you're looking at it, it's going to look like one hill is going to come out from the other hill, like out from behind it. So that's where you want your shading to be. Anyway, speaking of, I haven't been around in forever. All of you are super wonderful and supportive, and I'm so grateful for you. I assure you I am fine. I am doing fine. Here I had to kind of come up with a makeshift, because I didn't leave the hill, the masking paper big enough. And so I wanted to make it a little bit longer on the right-hand side. And so I just used another scrap piece of masking tape, and that worked fine for me. And then the last one, I'm doing the same thing. I'm still going to add shading up from the bottom just so it has some continuity. I did, if you're doing this as a one layer card, you want to mask your lamb. I didn't even mention that. Good Lord, you're probably like halfway through your card, like, girl, my lamb getting so green. I got a green lamb. Why? Because you didn't put the mask on. Because I didn't tell you to put the mask on. Sorry, put the mask on. I don't always perfectly line up my masks. That's just kind of the nature of creating a one layer card. So typically I just go in with a Copic marker that matches and just fill in those areas. Nobody's going to notice, I promise you. I wanted there to be some texture because it is supposed to be grassy hills. but you're not going to see as much texture in the hill that's furthest away as you will in the one that is up front. So basically all I'm doing is saying basically a lot. How about I just keep repeating myself, because that's not kind of annoying. I can't believe nobody's left a comment about that yet. Anyway, I am using just the tip of the marker and very light pressure and flicking upwards to create that nice kind of blade shape. I started with a C. Whoa. Struggle is real. Jesus, take the wheel. I started with a YG01, and then I put that everywhere. And then I moved on to a YG03, and I only put that on the third hill, and then definitely on the first and the second, because, that's getting much closer to us, and we would be able to see more of that actual dimension that's in the grass. I'm also going to add a little shadow underneath Lily here, because she would in fact cast a shadow. Lily would probably cast a bigger shadow than what I gave her, but I am not sweating it. I put her right on the edge of this hill, so she's precariously positioned, so I wasn't adding any more shading to her shadow. Moving out to the darker colors, which is the YG17. Again, just really adding this to the darkest shadows in the second hill and the first hill. I did very minimal in the third, just because I really felt like those other ones didn't have any texture at all, and I was not really loving it. So you might have to ignore my phone. You might have to play around with what is going to work for you and the kind of look that you're going for. I just wanted a little bit more interest in the background, since it's basically like blue sky, green hills, white-ish lamb, heavy on the ish. But so that's the way that I went about it. So yeah. Life has been kind of crazy, lots of change. Most of it has been very good. It's, sometimes when you find yourself in a spot in life that you never really thought that you would be, we all grow through adversity. And so I'm learning things about myself that I never even really knew before. And that can't possibly be a bad thing, right? Plus, I know God's got it. Whether or not I feel in control of it or I'm happy with what's the situation is. Speaking of being happy with what the situation is. So do you see these little pink dots here on Lily the Lamb? What had happened was my child took this R20 and basically decided he was going to color in Lily the Lamb. I was at work at the time, and so I was not the one who was with him. And he snuck into the craft room and colored up Lily the Lamb with some pink polka dots. So I showed you what I would do, which is use the colorless blender to remove that if I was doing a one layer card. I'm not, so it actually turned out not to be that big of a deal because I had always planned on using the dyes. So I stamped Lily again, and now this is where we're at. We're coloring her up, and I'm not even sweating it. I'm just going to cover up my child's masterpiece anyway. So I picked some warmer, peachy tones for her face, her ears, and her legs, because I'm going with warm grays for her body. And so I wanted there to be a distinction between her and her fuzzy, soft wool. So basically, really, honestly, can somebody count how often I say basically? This is my new so, I think. So, I said so all the time. Yeah. Ugh. Do you ever have a word like you find yourself doing that and then you don't even realize that it is until it's so ingrained in your vocabulary that you're just saying it all the time, just copious amounts of the same word over and over again, like you don't have any other words in your repertoire that you would speak to other people? Oh, my word. Okay. So I added shading from her ears out. So closer to her ears is going to be darker. I added shading from the wool that is covering her face down. And then also, again, her back legs are going to be darker. The wool will cast a shadow on top of her legs, so that'll be the darkest part. Now we're moving on to this stippling technique. You can use this in so many ways, but animals is definitely one of them. So if you watch my personal channel, you know I've definitely used this before. It's something that I really like doing to add texture to things. I do it with sand, to color in other areas where I want to create some variation. So the gist of stippling is you are adding shading with a series of dots. That's it. Like straight up, like you can see how fast my little pen is moving, dot, 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 dot. That's all I'm doing. The idea is you will have more, you can do this with one color. I did it with 4, but you can do it with 1. The idea is you will have a higher concentration of dots where you want your shading to be the darkest, and a more sporadic concentration of dots where you want it to be the lightest. So when I'm going around her, I'm going to call them scallops for lack of a better term. So like the scallops of where her wool is, it's going to be darker where the 2 scallops meet. It's also going to be a little bit darker around the edges because that's more gathered. But in the center, you'll see that I'm really only using a very little amount of the W1. And each time, because I'm using different colors, I am not completely covering the color before it. So it's almost like the same thing as flicking as far as the ratio of color you want to put down. You're just not flicking, you're doing little dots. And because of those little dots, it does give her the texture of being very, very full, which is what we want. We want to create dimension that makes her look soft and fuzzy. So I'm going to do the same thing for her body. I usually like to just like pick one area and complete that. So that's what I did with the like the hair. And I'm actually going to cut out her, that sounds morbid. I'm going to cut out her head. I'm going to die cut her head from another one that I colored. It was just easier to show you on one for camera purposes, but I did color 2 of them, and the head of the other one is the one that we're going to use. I'm going to pop it up and put it over. So you can see, again, I am leaving some white areas on her body, concentrating most of the color where I want it to be the darkest, so underneath her chin and around where those scallops meet. We're going to watch me do this. It's going to be a process, and I'm going to tell you about my life because, honestly, I'm pretty sure 95% of you are here for the stories. So, if you missed the last video, I have moved into a new house. This house was vacant for a year before I moved in. If you thought my old house was the spider murder house, like I once thought, I thought, oh man, we have a lot of spiders. Lies. Oh. I now kill spiders like at like lightning speed. Like it doesn't even faze me. I'm like, oh, there's a spider again, I have to kill it. Like I am like a soldier who's been at war. I am conditioned to just kill them and not even freak out about it. I had 2 freak out moments. One was I was outside on my back deck, and I went to go into the house, and I was on my phone, and I wasn't paying attention, and I went to go open the doorknob, and I happened to just look up at the right time, and there was this massive spider right on the door frame, right next to the doorknob. So I almost put my hand on it. Like, can we just let that sink in for a second? I almost grabbed this enormous spider. That was horrific. And I had the heebie-jeebies for quite some time after that. I had to work up my nerve to kill that one because he was so big. And I did with my slipper. So I killed him with my slipper. Then, probably 3 or 4 nights ago, again, outside on the back deck, and I see something out of the corner of my eye move, and I look, and there's nothing but like little like pieces of mulch. You know how big a piece of mulch is, and they're just scattered around the deck. And I was like, oh, it must have just been like trick of the eye or whatever. No, one of those pieces of mulch was in fact an enormous spider. He was so big he cast a shadow. Like I'm not making this up. Cast a shadow. Very quickly, you saw me with the colorless blender. If you feel like you get too heavy-handed with your dots, which can happen, just go in and do your colorless blender, but do the dots with the colorless blender. Don't like scrub back and forth on it. You'll ruin your texture. Just do the dots to lighten it up. For her little hooves, I am leaving a lighter edge, just so that there's some distinction between the back hooves and the front hooves. So I did not get the one. I mean, I'm pretty sure that thing would have popped. It was so huge. Just its abdomen literally was hiding the light from other items on the deck. It was so enormous. Then last night, I went to the Home Depots and I bought spider killer spray because I was like, I got a lot of spiders. I'm tired of killing them. Like the one night I came home from work, I came into the bathroom. There was one in my tub, killed it. As I'm going to throw that one away, I see there's one in the corner of the bathroom, killed it. Then I go to throw that one away and there's another one in my kitchen. Like legit, I was home for 15 minutes, killed 3 spiders. That's the life I'm living right now. But anyway, so last night, these are the two lilies you see, twin lilies, and I'm cutting the one out, the one just the head and the other one the body. Working on the sentiment now. I'm doing that in the mini Misty. So just kind of played around with how I wanted it. Anyway, last night I buy the spider murder spray and I'm like, this will be so much easier. Like I won't even have to get close to them. I'll just hose them down. It's pet safe. Molly's good. And so there was a spider in the corner and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm finally going to get to use it. Yay. I'm so excited. I'm going to murder all the spiders. It's going to be amazing. I'll throw myself a small parade. So I spray it. The force from the spider spray is actually so strong, it's just blowing the spider around. And he's still moving. It's just like like I'm giving him a soft breeze like he's in a CoverGirl commercial. So I I have to get super close and I coat the thing in like white. I just coat it white. And it finally dies. So I'm like, woohoo. So go outside, come back in, go. I'm working on another card, do that card, and then I go back outside. And this is what is in the laundry room, by the way, which is very tiny, thank God, because there are baby spiders all over my floor. There had to be 35, 40 of them, these little baby spiders just crawling all over the place. I'm like, this is outrageous. Like, that thing didn't look pregnant. It looked super tiny. No, you can't tell. You think you know, you don't know. No, you think you know, you don't know. For the sentiment, I did die cut the word you, because it's super cute. I'm so lucky to know you. Anyway, so I am trying to step on them. I'm spraying them all over the place. Ended up having to sweep the floor at 2:00 in the morning up all of these little baby spider carcasses. So yeah, that's where my life is right now. Yeah, I'm like immune to it. Like, you remember how terrified I was? Like, I literally stood in a storm of baby spiders with some spray and like, I didn't even freak out. Didn't freak out. I did have to go outside for a minute just to get like a little break, but it worked out. So I accented this with some clear sequins and then that's it. That's where we're at. The card's super cute. I love little Lily. I think she's adorable. Thank you guys so much for joining me and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.